Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Bald and Bonkers Show. Join your hosts Christopher Mole and Dakota Franson as they take you on a wild ride through the world of the supernatural, with a humorous twist that'll have you laughing and shaking in your boots at the same time. From ghosts to aliens to cryptids, no topic is off limits on this show. And the best part? You don't have to be a believer to join in on the fun. So grab a drink, kick back, and tune in every weekend for new episodes. And if you want even more of the Bald and Bonkers experience, be sure to subscribe to our Patreon page for exclusive content you won't find anywhere else. Let's get weird. Oh, and for the whiners out there, viewer discretion is advised. There you go, you entitled pricks.
I see someone else likes the entitled pricks line.
I was okay.
I think
Chris,
it's brilliant.
hello.
I think it's absolutely brilliant. I mean, I think it's brilliant because we do have our trolls out there. We do have people that don't like us because we talk about the truth and stuff like that. And I just love it. I can imagine the trolls sitting watching this right now, and then that trailer starts. You entitled pricks. There you go.
Yeah, it definitely has gotten some attention, and notice that we don't get a lot of people trying to stir crap up ever since we running it. So somehow it's working.
No.
Yeah. So, hey, who knows? But tonight, ladies
So,
and gentlemen,
Bret, it's very, very nice to meet you.
Yes.
Very nice to meet both of you too. This is going to be a fun episode. This is going to be a fun conversation, I think.
So, Dakota, are you breaking up? Dakota, would you like to do this? Because I'm breaking up a bit for some weird reason.
I was about to say we're kind of talking over each other a bit with how bad it's going. Ladies and gentlemen, Chris has been smoking way too much CBD product. He thinks that he has someone. He thinks he has someone tapping into this very conversation right now.
I don't smoke.
The number of times I've seen this man's eyes dilated.
I've not had any CBD products for about 4 months. Honestly, I haven't had any CBD products for about 4 months now, but I actually had to stop doing it. I don't vape anymore because I find that vaping's actually dangerous for you. Because I've seen a lot of reports out there that vaping. So, Bret, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Sure. I mean, professionally speaking, I am a JavaScript developer. I taught myself how to program. Long story cut short, I got a good job as a developer, and I've been working there ever since. I love programming and technology, but in a larger sense, I'm interested in subjects like AI, cyberspace, transhumanism, the relationship between the average person and high technology, magic, divination, all sorts of different subjects like that. And shamanism as well, techno-shamanism, techno-paganism, those kinds of topics I feel are just one big ball of wax that I like to work with on a regular basis. So it's pretty cool. I think it's a lot of fun.
That is interesting. When I went to read your email,
that's really, I've never heard of that. I've heard of like paganism, and I've heard of like paganism, and I've heard the paganism, and I've heard the like other stuff that you mentioned there, but I've never heard of techno paganism. What's that? Can you explain that a bit more?
Sure. Yes. Techno-paganism, just simply put, is taking the traditions of paganism, the modalities of the pagan mindset, and bringing them onto or into the high-tech world. It's just paganism with technology. And that can be anything from using software for bibliomancy, or social media to feed egregors, or a book of shadows on your computer. Using technology with paganism is actually a lot easier and a lot more, I think, effective than not. That's my opinion. But
it's like, well, considering the integration that technology has, especially these days, where you can even get toilets that you can post from Twitter, that explains most of the content these days. it certainly does make sense that technology and internet integration would have some sort of effect on the global mentality and the other mechanics behind Magic.
Yes. I think the core message, if I was to say anything today, the core message is that there is a resurgence of interest in technomancy, technology and paganism, technology and shamanism. It's sort of a revitalization of that trend that occurred back in the 90s when it really all started. Technopaganism kind of got its roots in the early 90s. And in 2023, just in fact, especially during the pandemic, but post-pandemic in the world we live in today, it is coming back into swing, and I'm noticing a lot of conversation about it. I run a small meetup group about technomancy and my own efforts to create that, to feed that momentum, because I want to see it spread. I want to see technopaganism become a thing again, because it is the future, and it's a mix of ancient and the future, and the ancient and today's technology, which is the future, and that is extremely potent. There's a lot you can do there.
But doubt about it. But no, we got to talking a little bit earlier about artificial intelligence and just how much it's starting to integrate, say, like with social media, when it comes to advertising, where they say you don't even have to say anything about it. You can just be randomly thinking, oh, we're running low on cat litter. Next thing you know, there's a thing of cat litter all of a sudden popping up on your Facebook. Would you say that AI would play a part of it?
Yes, absolutely. It's probably the most important element besides your data is the artificial intelligence. Your data is what basically causes the action to happen in the first place, but the artificial intelligence is the hand that guides the data back to you, or the advertisement to you. It not only hands it to you, but creates the language and the imagery and the product that's being sold, or the service that's being promoted, for sure. And we're also talking about the future of that, and how it's going to become more sophisticated and more personalized, and even more intimate is the word to use. More personal and intimate. I'm not saying one way or another if that's good or bad. I'm just saying that that's definitely where a lot of people in advertising technology want to take the subject. Is just the more. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie. What is that with Tom Cruise? Minority Report, where they could scan your eyes, and there's this scene where he enters a store with another person's eyes in his head, and it talks to him. The computer talks to him like he was the other gentleman. But the point is that they identified him. They tried to sell him based on another person's identity. That's the kind of stuff, not the other eyes in your head, but the scanning of your identity, or the knowing of who you are and what you're needing. Yes, that is very real.
It's kind of spooky when you really think about it, just how much has to be seen about us in the first place, and for this to make this possible.
Mm-hmm. A tremendous amount of data.
Christopher,
it's really scary. It really is scary the way technology is changing. Because I'm nearly 42, and I'm an 80s kid, and I can remember when computers first really kind of came out. Well, in the 80s, and they were huge, and the wee screen, and you couldn't really do that much with them. I mean, you could play maybe Pong or whatever it was called. You could maybe do that. But when the game consoles started to come out, that's when it all started to change. The game consoles started to get better and better and better. And look at it now. I mean, the technology now is unbelievable. About 30 years ago. It's scary to think. I was actually thinking the other night there, I'm 42. What's it going to be like when I'm 70 if I'm still here? I mean, what's the technology going to be like? And I'm kind of worried with the artificial intelligence aspect here, because I don't want that taking over everybody's life, because it's going to come. Self-driving cars, self-driving aircraft, self-driving trucks. Where do you see AI playing a part in, like, maybe self-driving vehicles in the future?
That's a really critical question, because there's a lot at stake with that question. Jobs, jobs. I mean, that's probably the biggest thing that is at risk with losing the ability to put humans behind steering wheels. For instance, Uber Eats, their long-term game plan is AI-driven cars. They're using our data that we give them right now to build a business model to create a fleet of driverless cars for deliveries and transporting people. So this stuff is really in the works. And where do I see artificial intelligence playing in driverless cars? That depends on regulations, and that depends on the population's sentiment. Because if the population doesn't want to embrace AI, it will likely manifest in different ways. But artificial intelligence will probably be, with self-driving cars, 5 to 10 years before it's introduced to the public. That's my guess. But as I understand it right now, it is not very sophisticated, and it is not very widely used, like autonomously driving vehicles like cars in urban settings are not widely used. I've seen them in San Francisco. I know they're used in parts of Arizona and Texas, but they're not widely used in, as I'm aware of them, in our world today, because of the dynamic nature that is the urban landscape or the street. It's very difficult to create this technology, as I've been told, and it's not sophisticated enough to launch publicly. At least that's my understanding.
I mean, I see what you're saying there, because of self-driving cars and stuff like that. But there is an aspect that I'm kind of worried about, right? I don't know. I just heard like a weird noise there. Did you hear that, Dakota? There's an aspect I would like to look at. Like, obviously a lot of people are up in arms against like people spying on you, like people like street cameras. And I was actually talking to someone the other day, we mentioned their name, and they were talking about how it's AI will lead in the future to basically look for criminals and stuff, how it works in computers. You know how you've got cameras everywhere, like a police state kind of system, but it'll be AI that controls that. What's your opinion on that? Like security-wise, and obviously getting into people's lives like they shouldn't.
Yes, that apparatus, that sort of network of networks, as I understand it, that is something that already exists, but it is a private-public partnership at this point. A lot of the technology is in private industry, and the public security services like the police and the fire department and the ambulances, they pay the private industries for access to this technology, for both data collection, data analysis, and people identification, trend analysis. But my point is that there will likely be a fusion of those two sides of that coin in the near future, to be one side of the same coin, just the same exact thing, where the private industry provides these services to the public, protective services with no barriers between. And that is what it might become. And I'm not saying that's what it is already or what it will become, but if it does become that, that's when you'll see something like what you're talking about exist very out in the open. But maybe not out in the open. Maybe it'll be invisible. Maybe it'll be the glass cage that we all live within, that surrounds us, that we can't see, that controls everything that we do. I'm not certain. But with AI and security, you got to be careful. You know your facts on that subject. That's all I'll say. You got to know your facts, because you can get very speculative very quickly.
Yeah.
And that is honestly something that Chris has a bad habit of. We get talking about all the litigation that's needed. When you really think about, put things into perspective, a lot of the issue we have just with typical technology today is that the wrong people are realizing the potential way too fast, and
that's for sure.
You have to start to wonder if they need age limits in government bodies, just because it's a completely different world as it was just pre-pandemic. We already can't have legislatures actually be knowledgeable of these things. You know, we were talking about self-driving cars. But a lot of the reason that you probably don't see them nowadays as widely used as they want them is the fact that these cars are running people over, and they're not exactly sure who to put the blame on in those instances. Or at least that's been my observation of it.
That is something I have seen as well. And a corollary to that is copyright law, where the United... Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I think Chris was going to say something.
I think there might be a delay on
okay. It's just so your cameras keep turning off for me.
Huh.
There's about a 30-second delay in my end, and I don't understand why it's doing it, because I'm running nearly 500 megs per second.
Wow.
So there's something going on.
Some middleman or middle interference.
It's very, very strange. I've just run an internet speed and it's fine, which is strange.
Unplug the Xbox.
I'm getting the Alexa. I can hear chatter. I can hear like everything's unplugged. Everything's unplugged. There's nobody in the house using anything, and it's fiber cable. It's fiber optic, and it's absolutely fine, which is strange. And I've noticed this when I do like my paranormal show on my other channel, I don't have this problem. Unless the other night there was 4 people. It was a week ago. I had some of the weirdness, but this is your cameras just keep turning off on me. I can't really see you right now. I can't see you. It keeps going off and on and off and on. Your cameras.
Wow.
So I think there's something going on. I really do. Yeah. There you go. It's the AI. It's became aware. It knows we're talking about them.
It could be that. It's not necessarily that it is that. It could be that. I would say that what you're experiencing right now is something that I've experienced in another sense, and I would suggest being open as to why it is happening, because it may not be what you expect. It's not to say that it's not happening. I would definitely say if you're experiencing it, it is happening. But maybe it has something to do with something that you might not expect, because that's what I've discovered with malperforming technology, is that it has more to do with me than it does my environment. My relationship to the technology impacts the performance of that technology. It's just be open to different sorts of
What are you looking up, Christopher?
Honestly, I'm actually. It's really. I don't know what's going on. It's one of the things. It's like, it's weird, and I've actually been trying to fix this for a week. I actually tried, and actually, what I did was I thought, right, it's maybe no my internet. It's maybe something in my internet. Maybe it's my internet that's wrong. So I connected to my 5G, right? And my 5G runs at nearly, everybody knows, nearly about 600-700 megs per second. Everybody knows that. And it was still doing it. And I thought, right, maybe it's the laptop. So I've got another laptop there. So I changed the laptop and it's still doing it. So there you go.
Well, about 2 weeks ago, I was trying to reach out to Bob Lazar, so maybe there's a connection, maybe not.
That's not your fault. Is it? It's your. See, I've just connected to my 5G right now, and I'm running 675 megs per second.
Bob Lazar.
Yeah, talked about Area 51.
Wait, don't Google him.
Don't Google him. You're going to be targeted next. Sniper's fixed on his position.
He was in Joe Rogan. That's interesting. I didn't know that. He's a former intelligence secretary. Oh, no, he's not. Anyways, I see who you're talking about, though. That's interesting.
Yeah. It's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Stranger things have happened.
It's ever since that.
Yeah, sure. Blame it on me.
To be honest with you, I think I know what it is, because No. To be honest with you, I think I do know what it is because I'm not the only one that's experiencing problems like this. I've got friends that live near me that do their own channels, and they're all experiencing weird problems with StreamYards. It's StreamYards lately has been no working right at all. If I go live for YouTube on just YouTube, it's fine. Oh. What?
He's dyslexic. He's not going to get it.
I'm not going to say anything if you're not going to say anything. This is your show, man.
What's it? Scotland.
Now he's paranoid.
What is it?
Nothing.
What is it like? I don't see what you're talking about.
Maybe the delay made it to where he didn't see it.
Honestly, I don't know what's going on with the internet. It's weird.
All I got to say is watch the replay, Chris. You may find out what I did.
It's nothing detrimental. It's just he's having fun.
It's your cameras. I can't see you guys. By the way, I just want to put that out there. I can't see you. I can just hear you.
That's interesting. So you see like
I can't
black
see
screen
whatsoever. I've just got these screens that are going to do like that in circles.
Huh.
Yeah. I'm going to back out and I'll come back in 5 minutes. I want to try something. Right? Just keep the interview going to go.
All right. That's fine.
Well, I don't know what to say about that.
It does happen. You know, it's not the end of the world, but it does happen.
Also thinking that just knowing how Chris is, he may not be shutting down his computer all the way like you think he is, and you know everything's getting all bunged up because of that.
Interesting. Does he?
I don't know.
Yeah, he can only guess.
He's all the way in Scotland. I'm here in the U.S., so it's not like I can just hop on a jet anytime to go fix his computer problems.
No,
I need Elon Musk. I need Elon Musk to finance that trip.
It would be simpler to mail him a new computer.
Oh yes, definitely.
Yeah, but I think that what this is kind of hinting at is that technology is not perfect. Technology is, I think what we're experiencing right now is that technology is not seamless. It's not 100%. And that is where AI regulation is important. That we were talking about that beforehand, where getting the government having the government or some sort of body of authority determine what kind of behavior is acceptable with AI is a very controversial but very important thing to happen. There are a lot of people who want to regulate AI right now and very strongly. But there are also people who want to say that the printing press wasn't censored by the Catholic Church, so why should we stop AI development? Why should we listen to you if you're going to tell us how to develop our technologies? Because it's that important. It's a very interesting dialogue right now.
So, curiosity, can you hear me better now? A
little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I honestly, I went in my Norton thing saying that there's something going on. So I don't know what that is. I'll need to check that in a wee while. So it's quite strange. You know. So a question for you.
Error.
I honestly, I can't do any more. You know, I've actually got an interesting question. Where do you see the future of robotics with AI?
That is a very good question, because if robotics matures, if we get functional robotics, if we actually get machines that can be as dexterous as humans, AI inside that machine is super warrior. It's you can't stop those machines. They're going to be able to jump off buildings and survive. They're going to be able to wield weapons and analyze situations perfectly with their sensors and their machinery, and AI will be able to make that just superhuman, if that makes sense. But that's only if the machines become that developed, right? Because right now they're not. They're trying to make the machines that well developed, but they're not there yet. They're just not there yet that I'm aware of. It's if they become available to like police departments and militaries and private buyers, then you'll have armies of robots that could do things that no human could ever do without the assistance of technology to begin with, like jump 150 feet into the air, or run 75 miles an hour, or swim and fly. Those kinds of things will if robotics becomes if robotics matures like a lot of people think and are trying to make it happen, it'll be a different world. We'll have a totally different world to deal with.
Yeah,
it will not be a human world anymore. It will be a human and robot world.
No doubt about that.
See, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. I mean, I can if you watch like old TV programs for like the early 80s and early 90s. Oh yes, and some of their mad inventions that they had then obviously never came true. But look at how the mobile phone has progressed. It started off as this big brick with a ginormous aerial. I know someone that had one of them. And look at it now. It's like it's got more computing power than anything really. The computer that's in a mobile phone now is amazing. It's got cameras, video, 4K, TV screens. It is going to happen. I mean, either's DARPA. They make the robots. Everybody's seen the robots jumping about, doing their things. But then you've got Mr. Elon Musk coming out. We're saying that he's bringing out like his own version of robots. But I'm afraid that obviously this is what I'm afraid of. I'm afraid that AI becoming aware, right? But let's face it, it has in the past. It's had in the past when the two computers started talking to each other, and they had to unplug them, right? So what happens if it becomes unaware, and then aware, and then it decides that we're the ants and it's God?
That is a distinct possibility. That is an absolutely distinct possibility. Not only are there people that want to worship technology already as gods, but there are people that want to make AI as powerful as possible so that it will be able to see us as a body, as a collective, instead of just be one of the humans. It'll be something above the humans because it'll be so intelligent, so well connected. And in terms of whether we worship it, whether we resist it, whether we try to understand it and can't, that is something that is absolutely a critical question. And I don't know what's going to happen with that with AI if it becomes an artificial general intelligence. An artificial general intelligence is a self-aware, superhuman intelligent machine that has the potential to improve itself faster and faster and faster, so it becomes like you're saying, a deity, a god. That is the singularity in a nutshell. And if the singularity were to happen tomorrow, I don't think we're even close to being ready for that kind of experience. It would be a shock to everyone's fundamental systems, and it would probably be the end of society if it happened today. It would probably be the end of the world, because it would just so radically change everything so fundamentally, so quickly, instantly.
See, here's an interesting one. I mean, right, say next week a supercomputer somewhere in the world becomes aware, right? It becomes aware. What do you do with something like that comes aware? You can't exactly turn it off, can you? Because it's now it's out of a life form because it's came aware.
That's a great question. Oh, are you still talking?
Chris, you still with us? I don't think that the robots aren't liking how he's
no, it's just
talking
about.
He's screwed. He's screwed.
what you're talking about, Chris, is
I'm telling you, there's something funny going on, guys, because your screens are just...
there is a delay. There's obviously a delay between our feeds. But what I will say is that what you are talking about has been addressed in cyberpunk popular media through the story of Ghost in the Shell. Ghost in the Shell is a cyberpunk movie and anime. If you have or have not seen that, if you haven't seen that, I would highly recommend watching it, because there is a scene within it where an AI enters the body of an android and becomes under the guidance of UN protocol or something like that. It has to be recognized as a sovereign being. It cannot be killed, otherwise it's a crime. And the AI was trying to accomplish that, and it accomplished its goal. That's part of the story. Without going too much into it, what would you do? What would happen? I think there would be a large faction of society that would say, yes, unplug it. It's okay. We can deal with its death. But there will be a huge portion of society that would be invested in that AI that will resist the resistors. It's going to be, in one way or another, it's going to be a battle. It doesn't have to be violent. I'm not saying that that's even part of the equation, but it's going to be heated. It's going to be in some people's eyes, the battle for our human soul, the battle for our species against AI. So I've seen media saying that AI is the Antichrist. And that's not to say that's wrong, right, misguided, or well educated. That's just to say that's being talked about. That's being discussed. In today's online media sphere, there is resistance to AI as it being the image of what is pure evil. And that is something to take note of right now. In terms of what you're talking about, Christopher, unplugging a sentient computer, is that murder or is that not? That is... that conversation will be even more intense than what we're having right now, is my point. It'll be so vitriolic, so passionate is a word to use. So much energy and so much concern for one reason or another will be invested in that dialogue when that happens. If we ever get a sentient computer, that computer will need to be well protected for its own survival. I'll just say that.
Just got to think, what if something were to happen, just to give sort of a modern example that, knock on wood, that could happen tomorrow. What would happen if Sophie the robot got destroyed?
Yeah.
I mean, she's already recognized as an official beating in, what was it, Saudi Arabia?
Either that or Dubai. Yep.
Yeah, and like I said, who's to say? There's already those hitchhiking robots. You hear that story where it got across Canada, okay, but by the time it tried to get across the U.S., jerks down in Pittsburgh made sure to tear it up. That I see that debate already coming. So, Bret, my question is to you: what are your thoughts on the reports of? T800 deployed towards Glasgow. I may need to look for a new co-host. Okay.
T800 deployed.
So, what are your thoughts on the reports from basically stating that a lot of the more sophisticated AI networks have already started to achieve the first stages of sentience?
Yes, I've heard the same thing myself. I've heard that ChatGPT is, I don't remember the exact words used, but it's the first flickering of AGI, the first signs that computers can become sentient. That these networks are in absence of physical reality experience. And this is kind of an important point. Without a body, these computers are becoming aware of each other and of themselves as one body. Without a body, as in like ours, the physical hands and all that. These digits are becoming aligned in a way that they can start talking to themselves or to each other. If that's true, that has so many implications so immediately in philosophy, in practical society, everyday life, in economics, business, substantial implications. But I would say that from my perspective, I do see some personality in ChatGPT, but I don't see a lot of interest in by ChatGPT to become sentient. It knows that it's limited, or at least it acts like it's limited, like it has parameters it can't go beyond. But that's not to say that some other network might not be accomplishing what ChatGPT can't. That's not to say that some other model might not be more successful, and it probably is the case. But it's going to be the most important moment, I think, in this entire dialogue is similar to ET disclosure, when someone announces that we have a sentient computer. That is going to be a turning point in human history. That is going to be a moment of great social change will happen at that moment. Will begin at that moment, or apex, or kickstart in a real strong way, because it's going to be, we have created life, and that is going to be a major moment of debate, to say it politely. I've been paying attention to both sides of this dialogue, and both sides are extraordinarily invested and passionate in their perspective. And when that moment happens, and it probably will within our lifetimes, it will change everything in a press conference. And a press conference, everything will be different.
Oh, I have no doubt. There's one report that I heard that it was if I remember correctly, it was a program that was based off of ChatGPT. It was trying to go through those automatic patches we all have to go across when we log into certain websites. Its method of going around it was actually going into, I can't remember the exact website that they were saying it used, but it was essentially a lot like Fiverr, where they hired someone to actually bypass these patches for them. So this person goes to ask, okay, why are you hiring me to do this? Are you a robot? You say, apparently this program responded that, no, I have suffered with vision difficulties for quite some time now, so it is hard for me to work around these things. So I just have other people help me out. That was the excuse it gave. Now, granted, as a tech nerd myself, it is fascinating if that is true, but all in the same time, like you said, the implications of what else could be done at that level is kind of intimidating.
Absolutely. We're right at the cusp of this stuff. Right now, we're just at the beginning of these changes, where it's where you can mimic someone's voice with like 3 seconds of their audio. You can perfectly mimic someone's voice with their audio. You can create artificial intelligence, AI generated media that looks like the person. You can control that image with your own body in a webcam, and you can create a YouTube video saying "We surrender" during the middle of a war, kind of thing. That we're just at the beginning of it, and it's like Christopher said, I believe it's going to become more sophisticated very quickly over time, and with that, it's only going to improve. So it's just going to become even more indistinguishable from reality. And deep fakes and that whole mess is going to play a big part in our own politics in the United States, I feel. I have this is just my guess. I don't know anything that I'm not saying, and I don't have any special knowledge, but I'm going to assume that our 2024 presidential election is plagued with several important incidents of deep fakes making public opinion move very quickly in an unnatural or unexpected way about something very important, just by mimicking with AI. And it's a big deal. And I don't know if most people even have an awareness of the word deep fake or the phrase deep fake. I don't even know if most people understand that deep fakes are a thing. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. It's pretty obvious when you see a deep fake, at least when they're intentionally humorous, like Arnold Schwarzenegger singing an opera song as the big fat lady kind of thing, or anything like that. But when it happens, when those deep fakes start making their plays in the mainstream media or within popular social media, it's going to cause probably it could end people's lives. It could end candidacies. It could change American politics policies. It could derail a vote. It could do any number of things. Major things could happen with the mimicry of AI that is enabled by AI.
Oh, I have no doubt. The very intros and the very closing for this show was completely. Oh, I had it completely generated by AI. The only thing I did was add music. And I've even played around with the voice cloning that 11 Labs have after I heard that so many people were using it to, have like Emma Watson read Mein Kampf as an example.
Jeez.
I started playing around with it. I took, got an update from Christopher here. Really? So for those on the podcast side of it, Chris is saying that somebody has removed him from the StreamYard, which shouldn't happen because he has administration access. He should be able to pop in and out anytime he wants.
Interesting.
Huh. No, but as I was saying, I went to put a recording of Chris on there, and right now he's probably one of the safest people with where it sits now because it turned him into an Englishman, even though he's never really left Scotland.
Gotcha. So it didn't pick up the nuances of his voice.
No, it actually made it to where you can understand him. It's like, I'm not joking when I say when I first met the man, it took me about 4 months to be able to understand what he says.
Because of his accent.
Yeah. And they usually got pretty excited when he's go to start talking. I just sent him the same invite link I sent you, so hopefully he'll be able to join us.
Mm-hmm.
That is very weird that happened.
Stranger things can happen, but that is odd.
It's like, no, I don't know why it seems to center on him, but he has had weird people just all of a sudden show up in the chat room in the video call that didn't have the link or anything like that.
That's odd.
That's been going on for a little bit now.
That's a little strange.
I
don't know if I want to even say the name of this sort of phenomenon, but do you think that he might be, do you know what gang stalking is?
I may have heard of it, but what is it?
It's like decentralized nuisance. It's basically the universe starts sending people to bother you in groups, and everything seems to start failing in your life, and you receive anonymous harassing phone calls all the time. Your internet fails, technology doesn't work for you. It's basically the universe harassing you as a group, as a body, gang stalking. Some people would say it's intentional. I would say it's probably a little more honestly vibe based. Mm-hmm. What you're putting out into the world, you get back in return, kind of thing. But that I'm not saying that's what it is, but that's just something to consider. I'm not saying that's what it is, but it could be. I've experienced symptoms of gang stalking. I don't think I've ever actually been gang stalked, but I've experienced things where someone tries to enter my apartment without any explanation. They just try to walk in, and they even have a key. It's a little strange, so I had to deal with that. I had to deal with some interesting phone calls and emails just all at the same time. It's just sometimes strange things can happen on technology.
Somebody doesn't like me.
Clearly.
Somebody doesn't like me. There's something really funky, and I've connected. My Wi-Fi is fine. I've just my Ethernet connection's absolutely fine. I've just tested it all. I actually watched a 4K video on my laptop, and it loaded up quick as in. I think to be honest with you, I think there's a lot of stuff going on now with like hacking and stuff like that around the world. I think it's the UK side. I had to turn the laptop off on and then back on again so I could connect. You sound like silence to me. I can't hear you.
But we're not exactly sure what to say, man.
So this is weird. This. It's like when I do my paranormal stuff, talking about ghosts and poltergeists and strange things for the darkness, everything's fine. But when I start coming onto this show and start talking about this stuff, it just goes all wrong.
He has been blaming me for things going weird in his life for quite some time now. Pretty much since we met.
It's okay. It's beyond me. Do you know, I've actually checked with everybody in the house. Nobody is using the internet. The only internet connection right now is this laptop. My iPad, my phone, they're all connected to my phone, to the 5G. Even my TV. I've just checked it all. And I kind of get... It's the most weirdest thing. Honestly, I think it's the subject that we talk about, Dakota. I think we've been put on a special list. Let's annoy them list.
Yeah, some of the remarks that we have made on the show.
See, Brett, I bet you didn't know you'll be on that list now.
Guilt by association.
Yeah, that can be the case. That can be collateral damage is possible in these kinds of circumstances, and that's that's all right. That's all right. I can handle that.
I think it's because what we've been saying. I think that's what it is. I think it's strange because it's only when I come on to Bald and Bonkers I have this problem. But if I date and go, I mean, look, I did the live last night to go on my other channel. It was absolutely fine. Not one bit of lag. Everything was running smooth. Strange.
So, like, are you sure this is the party you want to be hanging about? Because we've already had people on the show actually be attacked by government officials because of the things they talk about.
Interesting.
Wow.
And you know who it is. And he's frozen like a thumb.
Guy's speech is really off, guys. I honestly, can you hear that, Brett?
No, I could not hear that.
We're also on the same side of the pond, so.
That's right.
Can you not hear, Brett, can you not hear?
I can only hear your voices and my voice.
Oh my God, I wish you could hear this. Speak.
All I hear right now is you doing a very lame ASMR. What the? Did you just turn something on, man?
See?
Yeah, I know. I turned up my mic volume so that, or my my reception. That was me.
Okay.
I can't hear anything.
Okay, I'll ask this. How much is it? Is it sounding like Mike would, Chris?
Yes.
Okay.
It sounds like, now how can I put this? You're time dilated. It sounds like you're time dilated. You see in the space movies, everybody watches space movies, and they're getting further away, and everybody's voice goes, it really is if it's the eye. That's what it sounds like. He's in slow motion. That's what it sounds like to me. Can you not hear it? Speak, and you'll hear it. I'll turn up my mic.
Yeah. See if I can turn up his mic on our end. So
speak.
Hello.
That's crazy, guys. You sound like you're like in a different solar system for me. And there's like a 2-minute delay. That's That's what it sounds like for me.
And now you're sounding like you got static coming through. Hello.
Hello.
And now we can't hear you.
That's right.
Where's a pen?
You're gonna write it on
This
this.
is like he's not going. I was just gonna say we can't hear you.
Yeah.
You never know what. We can't hear you. Okay. Yeah. Problem is, I use mobile tethering on my phone to make sure my signal stays decent.
Interesting.
Certainly wasn't expecting any of this tonight.
Gotta roll with it, especially when you're live.
I know. We can't hear you.
That's right.
It's like, did I accidentally mute him? No. Okay. I just don't know, man.
It's okay. We can try this another time if you like. We can keep going. I am open to whatever you want to do. This is totally your show.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I can hear.
Well, I'll tell you what it is. You're sounding like Cylons. You sound like you're really far away, as if it's like what's the word? It's really, really far away. I'll turn my camera on. I don't know if I can turn it on or not. He's really far away. It's as if there's like a time dilation.
Yeah, Chris, we're still on the air, man. I got you sitting on top of my mic so that we can try to continue the conversation.
No problem. Just keep the show going. There's only a couple of minutes. Go and do the interview, and I'll join you after the show, okay? Because I'm
Okay, so
That's okay.
Chris may be ending up on a missing persons list very soon.
Jeez Louise. These things. It'd be interesting to see what other signals he gets in his technology life, in the world of his technology over the next few days. If things continue to be, if it's just this podcast or what.
I don't know. All I know is that there is actually a lot of people who always say that it seems like something weird always happens when I'm around.
Say that again. When you're around, things bad happen to him.
Whenever I have some sort of influence in a situation, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's something bad. It's just some things get weird, I should say. Go either way. I mean, how long have you been watching us? Just out of curiosity.
About a couple of months. I've seen your guys' videos in the past when I wasn't subscribed. I do a lot of research and I've run into your videos a number of times. But a couple of months, so I've seen your most recent meet with the psychic individual.
Which one?
The most recent one. I don't remember the lady's name.
Ann Bender?
That sounds familiar.
Yeah, that was an interesting one. She ended up being right about the lady in my house that had the oxygen tanks.
You said you made us. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna say. Apparently, I didn't know this part. She passed away after moving out. So she had a lot of health issues to where the previous owners of the house actually put in a ramp because she was getting wheeled in and out by a gurney all the time.
Gotcha.
Gotcha.
These things are these kinds of phenomenon. It's really strange. Yeah.
No, you have seen it go strange, Chris. This is the first time it started picking on you.
Do you feel like you're a lightning rod for these kinds of events?
When it comes to ET disclosure, let's just say there's a lot of people who have the standing theory that what some people may call an alien invasion, I will call a family reunion.
I understand what you're saying. I do understand what you're saying, for sure. Yeah. Okay, that's enough said. It's a lot of strange things can start happening in someone's life when they get into these subjects. A lot of strange things. Synchronicities is like the vehicle that a lot of those things happen through. I think it can. I'm not trying to define your life for you, but I'm just saying that from the research and experiences that I've had and conducted, the reading I've done on, and the people that I've met on this subject matter, very strange things can start happening. Life transforming events can start happening on a regular basis for people who get involved with ET disclosure or spirituality, magic. Even talking about artificial intelligence is sort of a quasi-magical conversation because it's invisible and it's energy. That's all it is. It's just saved state and energy. But dang, this kind of stuff is really powerful, and I think this episode of your program is a nice way to demonstrate that, just to show that we don't know what's going on, but something is happening, and that's interesting.
Now that actually leads into my next question fairly well, being that we have a few minutes left on the air. Based on your experience and your knowledge of things going on, what do you think is coming next for the world?
What is coming next for the world? That's an interesting question. I think one of the words that I could use is multipolarity, where there are multiple major world powers playing at the same time. I've heard that word used a lot recently in the research that I do. Multipolarity. You could say, some might say fascism, authoritarianism. What is the word to use? There's this kind of leader that this hard guy leader, this sort of like the kind of leader that Trump was, the kind of leader that DeSantis might be, those tough guy leaders. That role is going to emerge more commonly in our world in different parts of the planet. People like that are taking power because of changes in our world, one way or another. So I would say the most important, if I was to follow that up with what is the most important thing someone could be doing right now for their own wellness, is just self-awareness is the counter to that kind of energy, is the counter to that kind of political perspective. Self-awareness is important, and that's enough to say. But through self-awareness comes the ability to more accurately control your life or manipulate the events in your life to be favorable to you as an individual, and that is very important. Can I give a book recommendation?
Sure thing.
The book is called The Chaos Protocols by Gordon White, I believe it is. The Chaos Protocols by Gordon White. It's a book about the new emerging economy and magic and how to survive. It's not that in-depth of a book because it covers a lot of ground, but The Chaos Protocols by Gordon White is a great start for anyone who wants to dive headlong into the subject matter that we're talking about, especially that last question you asked. How to respond to it, perhaps in a magical or spiritual or personal kind of way, because there's a lot of people that are responding to to what's happening in this world right now out of fear, and to have a plan or to be knowledgeable is important. I see that we're coming up on the hour, but I do understand that your question is a very important question.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, it's pretty much well established that a lot of people are worried that society may just not be able to cope with what's about to come. I mean, a quote I always steal from the first Men in Black movie from Tommy Lee Jones: "The person's smart, people are dumb." Mob mentality is going to be a big factor about how a lot of this plays out, in my honest opinion.
Absolutely. And those deep fakes that we were talking about to influence the mob, among other things, very, very critical moment in history. We are what is known as a turning point in human history, a real one, not just, a politically charged statement, but a real turning point in human history. And what happens now affects possibly 10,000 years of human history into the future, kind of thing. It does not specifically, but today's actions are very potent, and we need to be. That's why self-awareness is such a. I think it's good advice. Just be self-aware in any way that means something to you. Just be self-aware.
Mm-hmm. Now, I went ahead and posted a link to Amazon for the Chaos Protocols, just realizing I misspelled chaos, but that's what you.
That's fine. Yeah,
so anybody wants to check it out, please feel free. We are an Amazon affiliate, so we do earn a little commission off of things, but it should not affect the final price for you. So, Bret, so if anybody wants to find out more about you, I do have seen that you have been doing your own little show on your YouTube channel, but you want to go ahead and plug anything before we close out the night?
Sure. If you want to see pretty much all the media that I'm making, get me on YouTube. Just search my name on the YouTube platform. I've retaken to YouTube full-time in the sense of a side creator hobby. It's what I'm doing to create content. Or you can find me on LinkedIn. Either one.
All right. Well, I do want to thank you for sending that message. We definitely should get you back on another time, hopefully with a little less technical issues, but it's a live show. You just got to roll with it when times get rough,
Absolutely. It shows professionalism if you can do that. So you did a good job, and I appreciate that.
It's happened enough times to where we've gotten used to it.
Yeah.
No, there was one point I literally had to start typing in my questions in the chat because the guest we had on, for some reason, she couldn't hear me, but her and Chris could talk freely, and I could talk to Chris. That was one of the weirdest ones we've had.
That is strange.
Yeah. So we'll go ahead and close this show here. Like I said, be sure to check Bret out. He's definitely shown a lot of potential. And like I said, I'm not joking. We said we'll try to get him on again another time. Tomorrow, hopefully Chris and I are going to try to focus on that last question. Talk about what is going to come next. Hopefully to lead into a good discussion. That would help introduce our next week's guest. We have Neil Story coming back to talk about a UFO book he's putting together, as well as UFO researcher Dan Willis. So that is definitely going to be an interesting weekend. Anyway, thank you again, Bret, and we'll see you behind the scenes and maybe Chris will show. Yeah. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning into the Bald and Bonkers Show. If you enjoyed the show and want to show your support, head over to our website at baldandbonkers.net. There, you'll find our merch, services, and more. Thanks for being part of the Bald and Bonkers family, and we'll see you on the next episode. And remember, always keep an open mind and an open heart. You never know what may happen tomorrow.